it's Danny. Welcome back to Dine It Frugal, where we make quick, easy and budget-friendly recipes every week. On today's episode, we're going to be making chicken cacciatore with rice, and I wanted to bring you along for the ride and also show you how I use leftover ingredients, things that I need to get rid of, and amend the recipe a little bit so that you can make cheap, easy recipes at home without having to go out and buy special ingredients if you don't have them. So let's get started. So here we have all of the ingredients that we're going to be using to make this chicken cacciatore. I measure them out only if I'm making a video. I tend to just cook and have everything that I need, but not actually measure it all out and have all of these bowls. So you don't need to do that. I just do it because my brain just dies if I try and measure things or split recipe or half recipes and things like that. So I'm showing you what ingredients I use, and now we're going to move over to the pan to get started with cooking. I also should mention before we get started, I am making this recipe with chicken drumsticks. You can make it with thigh fillets, chicken drumsticks. I'm not sure about chicken breast though. This has to cook for 30 minutes just on the stove, so I'm not sure if you can get away with chicken breast and it not being too dry. I recommend either chicken thighs or chicken drumsticks. So let's get on with making our recipe. Okay, so into my pan I am going to add in about a tablespoon of olive oil. I'm just using a mild olive oil, and I'm going to put that over medium heat. The next thing that I want to do is I want to take all of my chicken pieces, whether I'm using drumsticks or thighs, and I want to coat them in flour. All of the ingredients are going to be down in the description. I will wash my hands. My hands have been washed. I will wash them again. I know I'm touching raw chicken, but I don't want to sort of... Actually, I want to show you what I'm doing. I probably wouldn't do it this way normally. I don't know why I'm doing it this way. But anyway, it's getting the job done. So don't come to me in the comments and tell me I'm doing this wrong. I know I'm probably doing it wrong, but it is what it is. So this flour has just been seasoned with a little bit of salt and pepper, and I just want to get them coated just a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and add in my chicken. I just want to get the chicken browned off at this stage. I don't want to actually cook it through. I just want to brown it on all sides and get it nice and caramelized. And then once I've done that, I will bring you back and we can get on with sauteing our vegetables. You'll also notice with these drumsticks that I've gone ahead and taken the skin off. I have left it around the bottom knuckle, but I've taken the rest of it off, otherwise it just makes the dish too fatty. So I've taken that off, and now we're just browning it. I wouldn't skip this step. This step actually gives the dish a lot of extra flavour. If you skip it, you don't get that richness in the sauce. So I would recommend doing it. There we go, that's lightly golden brown. Now I'll also admit that this is gluten-free flour because I'm gluten-free. It probably will darken a little bit more if you're using regular flour. So if you are gluten-free, this is a gluten-free recipe as well. So alright, we are nice and golden brown on both sides. I'm going to take our chicken out and we're going to start caramelizing or sauteing off our vegetables. You want to keep the oil in the pan, and that extra flour has caramelized, so it's going to give you a lot more flavor. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and add celery, carrot and onion. So as those vegetables cook down, they are going to, I mean this is a non-stick pan, but if you're not using a non-stick pan, it's going to scrape all of those delicious, not burn bits, but caramelized bits at the bottom of the pan off for you. This one's just come off because it's a non-stick pan. So I'm going to go ahead and saute down these vegetables, and then we'll go ahead and add the rest of our ingredients. To this, one thing that I forgot is also adding the garlic, so I'll add that garlic in there now. You can add it when you add all the other vegetables. I just happened to forget it, and now I'm putting it in. To this, I'm going to go ahead and add my mushrooms. I'm using dehydrated mushrooms here, and I'm just going to let those caramelize along with for the rest of the time along with the vegetables. They're just about done. So one of the things that I wanted was a dehydrator, and thankfully Matt got me one for my birthday last year, so I'm able to now dehydrate fruits and vegetables if I don't think I can use them in time, and they've been great. It's been great for mushrooms. I found a whole stack of mushrooms for 20 cents, threw them in the dehydrator, and now I've got them all in this little plastic container so that I can rehydrate them and use them in recipes if I don't have any fresh ones on hand. And that's been absolutely amazing during this No Spend January, where I decided to participate in a No Spend January where I'm not spending money or going to the supermarket on non-essential items or stuff that we really don't need. And I've been using these in all of my recipes that call for mushrooms, instead of just not being able to make the recipe or having to leave them out. So my dehydrator has been great. Let's get back to the recipe now. Okay, so next step is to add our liquid, one of our liquids. The recipe actually calls for white wine. I don't have any white wine in the house, so what I've done is use chicken broth, but this is also what I rehydrated the mushrooms in. The mushrooms release a whole lot of flavor into that water, and you don't want to lose that. You don't want to throw that down the drain, so that's what I'm using here, so we can keep that. And we're just going to let it bubble up a little bit. Okay, we're on to the next step. So the next step is adding our crushed tomatoes and our passata. I actually had some in the freezer from another recipe that didn't need all of it, and I don't want to waste that. I don't want to get rid of that, or I don't want it going in the fridge and getting moldy and I haven't used it in time. So if I use half a can of passata or half a can of crushed tomatoes, I will always put them in a container like this. It's just a small little plastic container, and throw it in the freezer with a label on top that tells you how much is in there. So I'm just going to allow this to thaw directly in the pan, just because I basically forgot to take it out. That's really the crux of it. So I've got my crushed tomatoes, and then I've also got my, wait, that is actually a lie. So today, because I didn't have any crushed tomatoes and I didn't want to open a new can, because I needed to use these up. This is actually passata, but this is tomato soup concentrate. It'll work fine. You'll have the full correct recipe down in the description. I just need to use these up, so that's what I'm doing. I'm just going to throw a lid on just to help with that defrosting. Takes a few minutes. And then we can get on with the rest of our recipe. But that's a really good way. If you need to sub some things out, I mean, you don't want to deviate too far, then the recipe's going to turn out fine. It's still going to have lots of flavor. It'll just be a tiny bit different. So that's what I've done this time. And to this, I'm also going to add some herbs. I've got a bay leaf, thyme, and rosemary. So they can all go in there as well. Okay, when your sauces come to the boil, we are going to season this with salt and pepper, and you're going to do that to taste. So I'm going to add a little bit of salt, add a little bit of pepper, and then I'm going to stir this in and taste it to make sure it's to our liking. Otherwise, I'm going to add some more in there. That tastes good to me. What we're going to do is add some, recipe calls for balsamic vinegar. I only had aged red vinegar, so I'm just going to use that. You can use whatever you have on hand, and that's just to cut the richness of this dish. Ooh, and I have tomato sauce splattering everywhere. Okay, last thing for us to do is add our olives. And now the last thing that we have to do is add our chicken. So I'm going to put our chicken in there. And I'm going to coat it in our sauce. I just turned my heat down to stop it from splattering, but I'm going to turn it up again in a second just to bring it back to that nice boil. So there we go, have added our chicken back. Now, the recipe also calls for sugar. Because I've added tomato soup concentrate, that is actually quite sweet, so I'm not going to add this in. But if you're not using tomato soup concentrate like me, and you're using the passata, I would add this in just to get that nice sweetness. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cover this with a lid, and I'm going to put a timer on for 30 minutes and just let it simmer for 30 minutes on medium-low. That'll allow our chicken thighs to become cooked nice and tender so that it's falling off the bone. And so while I've got the cacciatore on the stove cooking for half an hour, I actually take this time to go ahead and clean my dishes. I get all of these dishes out of the way and into the dishwasher so that when we finish dinner, or when the dish is ready, I can serve up, and then I only have to wash the plates we ate on and the dishes that the pots that I cooked with. I don't have to worry about all of the stuff that I prepped with. So that's what I'm gonna do, and I'll bring you back when we're ready to serve. Alright, so this has cooked for 30 minutes and my rice is cooked. I just did a plain rice absorption method, cooked it for 12 minutes. So what I'm going to do is put about a cup of rice in each of our plates. And then I'm going to serve, I think, 2 drumsticks each. And we can just put the sauce over the top. And that's all there is to it. So we've got our rice, we've got our chicken, we've got our beautiful, delicious aromatic sauce. It's really easy, it's really cheap. You can make this recipe really easy from things that you already have in the pantry. I hope you go ahead and make this. Thank you for staying until the end. I hope you like this video. I hope you enjoy this recipe. I hope you go away and make it for yourself. I think you're really going to enjoy it. I'm gonna go and enjoy this for my dinner. And if you're new here, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Give us a comment, give us a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time for the next episode of Dine It Frugal. Bye.